Have you ever wondered why some homes feel peaceful while others seem to harbor constant tension and spiritual unrest? What if I told you that Pope John Paul II had profound insights about our living spaces that could transform your spiritual well-being, financial prosperity, and even your health? Today, we're going to explore 3 specific objects in your home that might be creating spiritual problems in your life. Our journey begins with Maria, a 62-year-old widow who lived in a beautiful house filled with memories. Despite her strong faith and regular prayer, Maria felt a heaviness in her home that she couldn't explain. Her sleep was restless, her finances were constantly strained, and she experienced unexplained headaches whenever she spent time in certain rooms of her house. "I pray every day," she told her parish priest, "but I feel like something is blocking God's blessings in my life and home." The priest, who had studied the teachings of Pope John Paul II extensively, asked to visit Maria's home. What he discovered there would completely transform her life, bringing peace to her spirit, order to her finances, and restoration to her health. Before I reveal what the priest found in Maria's home, I want to ask you, have you ever felt something similar, that inexplicable heaviness or blockage in your spiritual connection despite your faithful prayers? If you have, please take a moment to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share in the comments where you're watching from. Your experiences might help others who are facing similar challenges. We love hearing from viewers from all around the world, whether you're watching from Brazil, the United States, Portugal, or anywhere else. Let us know your thoughts on this important topic. Now let's return to Maria's story and explore the first object that Pope John Paul II warned could create spiritual problems in our homes. When the priest entered Maria's living room, his attention was immediately drawn to a large collection of items that represented the first problematic object: excessive material possessions with no purpose. Pope John Paul II often spoke about the dangers of consumerism and materialism. In his encyclical Centesimus Annus, he warned about a culture that encourages people to want more, to have more, and to be more. This excessive attachment to material things, he taught, creates a spiritual emptiness that cannot be filled with more possessions. The priest noticed that Maria's home was filled with items she had purchased on impulse or received as gifts, but never used. Closets overflowing with unused clothes, kitchen drawers stuffed with gadgets still in their packaging, and bookshelves lined with unread books. These weren't cherished possessions. They were the physical manifestation of an internal spiritual struggle with contentment. These possessions without purpose are not just cluttering your home, the priest explained to Maria. They're cluttering your spiritual life and creating financial strain. Maria had never connected her shopping habits with her spiritual struggles or financial difficulties. She realized that each unnecessary purchase not only drained her bank account, but also created a subtle shift in her priorities, placing material goods above spiritual growth. Pope John Paul II taught us that true freedom isn't found in possessing more things, the priest continued, but in having the right relationship with the things we possess. When our homes become warehouses instead of sanctuaries, our spiritual connection suffers. Together, they began the process of simplifying Maria's home, keeping only those items that served a purpose or brought genuine joy. For each item removed, Maria felt a lightness enter her space. Surprisingly, as her home became less cluttered, her financial situation began to improve as well. Without the constant drain of impulsive purchases, she found herself with more resources to meet her needs and even to share with others. What's more, the headaches that had plagued her began to diminish. Researchers have long known that cluttered environments can increase stress hormones in our bodies, contributing to physical symptoms like headaches, fatigue, and even compromised immune function. By removing this first problematic object, excessive material possessions, Maria was addressing not just a spiritual issue, but a health concern as well. The second object that Pope John Paul II cautioned against might surprise you: images and media that subtly undermine your spiritual values. When the priest continued through Maria's home, he noticed her television was constantly running in the background, cycling through programs filled with messages that contradicted the very values she held dear. Pope John Paul II's theology of the body offers profound insights into this integration, helping us see care for physical health as an expression of gratitude rather than a separate compartment of life. As we consider these three categories of objects that can create spiritual problems in our homes, it's important to approach the process with patience and grace. For most of us, creating a home environment that truly supports spiritual flourishing, financial wisdom, and physical well-being is a journey rather than a single event. Maria, Julia, and Carlos each began with small steps, addressing one category of objects or one room at a time. They experienced setbacks and moments of uncertainty, but the cumulative effect of their efforts was transformative, creating homes that nurtured rather than hindered their growth. Their experiences reflect a profound truth that Pope John Paul II emphasized throughout his teachings, that genuine human development involves the whole person in all dimensions of life: spiritual growth, financial wisdom, and physical well-being are not separate pursuits, but interconnected aspects of a life well lived. By removing objects that create spiritual problems in our homes, we're not just tidying up our physical spaces. We're creating conditions for this integrated flourishing, for becoming more fully the people we are created to be. As we conclude our exploration of these three problematic objects, I invite you to consider your own home environment. Are there excessive possessions that create clutter in both your physical space and your spiritual life? Are there media influences that undermine your values and create anxiety rather than peace? Are there objects that introduce spiritual confusion rather than clarity? Identifying and removing these objects isn't about creating perfect homes. It's about creating intentional spaces that support rather than hinder our journey toward wholeness. It's about recognizing, as Pope John Paul II taught, that our physical environments both reflect and shape our interior lives. The process might not be easy. We often develop strong attachments to our possessions, our media habits, and even our spiritual inconsistencies. Changing these patterns requires both courage and discernment. But as Maria, Julia, and Carlos discovered, the freedom that results is well worth the effort. 1 year after beginning her home transformation, Maria reflected on the changes she had experienced. "My home is now a place of peace," she shared with her prayer group. "But more importantly, I've found a peace within myself that I hadn't experienced in years." This inner peace expressed itself in tangible ways, in more generous financial giving despite a fixed income, in improved health markers at her annual checkup, and in deeper relationships with family and friends. By addressing the three problematic objects in her home, Maria had created space for authentic flourishing in every dimension of her life. Julia, too, continued to experience positive changes. The anxiety that had troubled her for years diminished significantly as she maintained a home environment free from excess, media saturation, and spiritual confusion. "I feel like I can breathe again," she told Maria. "Not just in my home, but in my soul." Carlos found a new sense of purpose in his retirement years. With his home transformed into a place of peace and creativity, he began inviting younger men from his community to learn woodworking. These intergenerational connections brought him joy while allowing him to pass on valuable skills and wisdom. Each of these stories illustrates what Pope John Paul II understood so well, that our homes are not merely physical structures, but environments that either support or hinder our development as whole persons. By identifying and removing objects that create spiritual problems, we open ourselves to greater freedom and more authentic living. As you reflect on your own home environment, remember that the goal isn't perfection, but intentionality. Each small change, each unnecessary possession removed, each boundary established around media consumption, each step towards spiritual clarity creates space for something better to flourish. The wisdom of Pope John Paul II offers a valuable guide for this process. His teachings remind us that authentic human development involves all dimensions of life, spiritual, material, and physical. By creating home environments that honor this integration, we open ourselves to the fullness of life that he so often described. I encourage you to take one small step today, perhaps removing one unnecessary possession, establishing one new boundary around media consumption, or addressing one source of spiritual confusion in your home. Notice how even this small change affects your sense of peace, your relationship with material goods, and your physical well-being.